Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another video. This is going to be a video that a lot of you guys have been waiting for, and it's going to be making the splitter for my Nissan 370Z. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright guys, so before we get started, we want to take off the bumper because you're going to need the bumper to make the holes or make kind of like a template for you to be able to make the splitter. So we're going to go over to the garage right now and we're going to take off the bumper. Here's the Z. The reason we're making another splitter is because this one broke right here. So as you can see, it's missing this whole part right here all the way down over there. So let's go ahead and take off the bumper. I don't have a lot of room to work with, so I'll try my best to show you guys, but if you guys have removed the bumper before, it's pretty easy. Just take off the bolt that's right here. In my case, I don't have one. It just comes off because it's broken. And then you're going to do the same for the other side. And then at the bottom, if you have the OEM splash guard that's at the bottom, you're going to have to remove all those bolts. And make sure you keep those because you're going to be reusing them from making the new splitter. Here's the bumper removed. So as you can see, we reused the tabs that came with the stock bumper. Now if you guys haven't seen my car before, it was a base model. It was an 09, so that was the bumper that was on here, and I just used all those bolts and little brackets that were on there to mount it onto this bumper here. This is a 09 model, and I think up to 13 Nismo bumper, if not 2012. So I actually like this bumper a lot better than the newer model Nismos, just because it gives in my opinion, it gives the car a more aggressive look when it looks a lot longer from the front and points down. We're gonna go ahead and get started and start removing all the bolts that are to the brackets, and then I'm gonna show you what the splitter looks like. Now in order to make your template, you want to grab a piece of cardboard. This one's already cut out, but you're going to have a full piece of cardboard. You're going to place the bumper on top of the cardboard and trace out the entire bumper all the way around. You also want to get the holes that are on the tabs at the bottom of the bumper. That way you can trace those out and you know where to mark your holes out when you're cutting out the splitter. This is a template, so you can go ahead and keep this. That way you can use it for future reference. That way you don't have to make a new one. And here's the front. As you can see, it was cut exactly to size with the bumper. So this was just a template to figure out where the holes were at. That way I can place it on the ABS plastic, which is over there, and I can start drilling my holes and pretty much placing everything in its place. Now because I already have the original splitter and I want to keep it the same, I honestly don't really have to do anything. All I have to do is measure everything, trace it out, and then cut it out. Here's the material that we're going to be using. This is ABS plastic. and I picked this up from a local shop here in Arizona called Professional Plastics. This is what they pretty much specialize in. They sell sheets of plastic and other materials that you can use. This exact size is going to be 96 times 48. These are going to be the tools that I'm going to be using to cut everything. So as you can see, I have these scissors. These are not regular scissors. Scissors cannot cut through the ABS plastic. You have to use these type of scissors, usually used for like cutting wires and things like that. And then I'm going to be using a Dremel, which is this one here, to pretty much smoothen out the surfaces, making it smooth. Make sure there's no rough edges or anything like that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start tracing everything. We're going to start cutting it, and yeah, we'll show you guys the finished product, and then we're going to mount it onto the car. Here is the old splitter on top of the ABS plastic. So as you can see, you have enough material to be able to make two, just in case you make a mistake. Now I did run into a little problem. Of course, right here, tracing this area, because it broke, I will have to remeasure it. So I believe I measured about like 4 inches from this hole down here to get exact measurements all the way around. So what you can use is you can use like a ruler, or you can use a piece of paper and mark it, and that way you can start marking each area and how far you want to go out. Alright, so I have this piece of paper right here. I'm going to be using this to measure everything. So for example, right here, if not from right here, yeah, so from right here to this line right here, I'll just make another line indicating this is where I need to make my other lines or little dots. So as you go along, you can go to the next dot, you can make your line here. So you know that from this point to that point is how far you need to make the line. Now this line that we're making right here, this line is how far we want the splitter to stick out from the bumper. So as you can see, this is pretty long. I would say this is close to 4 inches. So that's how much is going to be sticking out from the bumper. But once we cut it out, it'll give you a better idea. And then let's go ahead and measure 4 inches off of the bolts themselves. Now that we have traced out the splitter, I know exactly what we want to do with it. We're going to go ahead and start cutting it using scissors right here. So here's everything cut out already. Now as you can see, the lines obviously are not perfect, which is why we're going to be using the Dremel to smoothen everything out. Here's how the splitter is looking so far. We haven't drilled out the holes or anything. I'm just mocking it up, making sure everything looks good. We do have to work on the front a little bit, make it a little bit straighter and cleaner. What is up, guys? Today's the next day, so we're going to install the bumper onto the car now. These splitter rods are installed. These are fully torqued splitter rods. They are aluminum. They are very strong and sturdy. When it comes to these splitter rods, you want to make sure that you don't cheap out and you use these type of splitter rods. They are 70 bucks for the pair, but there are cheaper versions which are like $10, but they will usually corrode and break, so I do recommend these. Now here's everything mounted up. You have all the bolts on there. So not only is it going to be mounted from the front of the bumper, it's also going to be mounted from the rear. I made extra holes right here, and we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be using some brackets like the ones that are on the bumper, and then we're going to put a bolt through it. I'll show you guys what I used to make my little bracket. So let's go ahead and take the car out. I'll give you guys a little cold start. This is what I use to mount the splitter to the bumper. It's pretty much like a, I guess you could say like a tab, and then you're able to put a screw in, and then the bumper itself goes in the middle. That way you're able to tighten it, and then it's going to compress, and it won't be able to come out. So this is what I used, and you're also going to be using it for the back right now. I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Now for the rear support, this is what I did. I used the existing bolts that are here. So this one mounted up to the I think this is the power steering cooler, or it's either an, oh yeah, it's a power steering cooler, because the 09 models doesn't come with an oil cooler. So I have the Mishimoto one. Now the existing bolts that were onto this cooler here, I mounted this bracket, just got it from Home Depot, cut it out, fit it on here, and then bolted it up with these two bolts here. And then with the other side, the same thing, I have the Mishimoto under there. I grabbed the two bolts, bolted it on there, and then I also used some of these. And then I have these at the bottom that we're going to be using to mount the bumper to. So just slide it in there, and then you're going to go ahead and tighten it up. There are holes already in the back, like if you look under the car where your splash guard was at, there was holes already mounting that up, but you will have to extend your splitter, and then that would just make it a little bit more difficult to do your oil change. That's why I did it only up to this point. That way I can do my oil change, just lift the car up, do the change instead of having to take everything off. Alright, so here are the bolts from the rear. So as you can see, there's that one over there, mounted up, and then you have another one right there that's holding everything in place. So it's holding up the rear, that way it doesn't go down. And then you have everything in the front mounted up, and depending on how low or how high you want this, you can adjust it. So for example, like let's say you think this is too high, you can spin this. You gotta start dropping it down for you. So you keep spinning it and it goes lower, and of course you don't want it too loose to where it's not holding it. Like for example, this one was loose right now, and I just tightened it up, and then you spin it back up and it's gonna start pulling it up. So I'm gonna air it out right now, see exactly where I want it. If I need to adjust it, go back up or down, that way I can leave it. Now it is pretty sturdy, so if you push down on it, it doesn't really go down. It does go down a little bit in the middle, but these rods will support it. And then on the sides it'll go down a little bit. You can get stronger material, but that's completely up to you. I might use this material just because it is durable, and when you hit something, because it's so flexible and strong, it's not going to break on the first hit. My last splitter, this last splitter that I had, and when I used to be static, lasted me honestly like a full year without breaking. So they do last a long time. Even if you're static and you hit a lot of bumps, they'll take the hits. But now that I'm on bags, I won't ever break the splitter. I could just air up and I don't have to worry about hitting anything. Alright guys, that's pretty much going to conclude the video. As you saw, it was a pretty easy DIY. The material itself, which was the ABS plastic sheet, was about $50. In addition to that, if you want to buy the support rods, which are optional, you can spend anywhere to $10 to $70. The ones that I bought were $70. So it is a little bit more on the expensive side, but it is going to help out a lot more in the future because they are a lot sturdier and they're going to support that lip. Now, the reason I actually made the splitter was because the original splash guard that goes under the Nismo V1 bumper is, I would say about, I think it's like $450. If not a little bit more just for that bottom piece, and it's not something I really wanted to spend $400 on. So instead I decided to make my own splitter. Now the reason I wanted to make it is because the splitter over time, it'll at a certain high rate of speed, it'll start to go down, and if you're low to the ground, like for example I was static at the time, the bumper would go down and start hitting the floor and start scraping it. So instead what I did is I created that splitter, which was now going to help support it stay up instead of going down. Of course, this is only functional for helping the bumper stay up. This is more for looks and just to keep the bumper up. So I really hope that you guys like the video. Make sure you leave any comments down below, or any questions that you may have. You may message me on my Instagram. I'll go ahead and leave it somewhere right here. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll leave a cinematic for you guys, that way you guys can check that out. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Alright, so here's everything completed now. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the lip a little bit more because it's a little high, but we're pretty much done. This is how you make a splitter for a Nissan 370Z, and I'll go ahead and do a quick cinematic for you guys of how everything looks. So enjoy.